This is the final installment of our series based on this book, Living Originally by Robert Brummett, published by Unity. It's the most recent book they published. It's quite an honor to be published by Unity. And he is the teacher in the ministerial education program who has kept it progressive and kept it advanced. His class was called Prayer and Consciousness Studies. And it was the same throughout the whole 2 years, the same title, but different content. And he taught it kind of like in a question and answer way, and it was marvelous. So I'm very delighted to be teaching this book written by him. And the topic for today is the final chapter, I Am the Author of My Life. I'm sorry to pull a bait and switch on you, but the preceding chapter before that, Living in the Heart of Desire, that addresses one of the most critical, the most crucial, the most perplexing issues of life on the earth plane, gratifying our desires. Now, the interesting thing about this matter is the paradox we find in Buddhist teachings, which teach us non-attachment and desirelessness, while spiritual metaphysics teaches that our desires are from the Spirit of God, stirring in us to experience our divine power. Well, it seems like a paradox, but really it isn't, because so whenever you have a paradox in spiritual teachings, it's always both and. Both are true, and the desirelessness and non-attachment is a different area of growth than what we're talking about here. So let's just be at peace with that. It's fine. Yes, everything is a step on the road. But our entire species is struggling with this issue of gratifying desires. That's why addiction is so rampant. We hear reports on the news about deaths from opioid addiction, from heroin overdose, from alcoholism, any number of forms of addiction. Now, I want you to get this. Whatever you think you desire, whatever you think you need, is a symptom of a deeper hunger. There's an exercise that he describes in the book to have someone ask you over and over, what do you want? What would it feel like to have that? What do you want? What would it feel like to have that? What do you want? What would it feel like? And just really keep barraging you until you finally come to a place of absolute surrender to the deepest desires in you. Now, I once went to a seminar. It was called LifeSpring. It was one of those phenomena in the 80s that took things by storm. Anybody heard of LifeSpring? Did you go? Have you heard of it? It was an experiential model of learning more about yourself. And one of the exercises was dividing up in pairs, and one person asked another person, what do you want? They didn't do the, what would it feel like, but what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And what I experienced in that exercise was coming to the realization that what I actually truly wanted in that moment was for that person to like me. Not a symbol of that person, not like a person to like me, but that person standing right in front of me to like me, that would be something I would want. And that is what everyone wants. You can do this in your own mind. Hold the question, what do I want? And let your imagination expand on that question. Let's just take a moment to reflect on that. What do I really, really deeply want? when you get in touch with your heart's deepest desires, you start to get to the place of living originally, from your true origin. Now I want to take a minute to talk about the omega point. You know, and Jerry always loves it when I talk about Teilhard de Chardin. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin wrote this wonderful book, The Phenomenon of Man, in which he theorized that there is a principle that he calls the omega principle because it's the end point, it's the culmination of evolution in consciousness, a consciousness evolution, and it is a principle that draws evolution of all the living beings to a final point of complexity and oneness. Is that a fair explanation? It's hard, but anyway, the omega point is something that appears in the book here, so that's why I'm referring to it. It's really the same as the Christ within what we talk about, but omega has the overlay of drawing us to the end point of evolution, whereas the Christ is already in perfection, in perpetuity. So it's slightly different, but it's really the same spiritual essence. So to know that we are loved is really the core of our desire. And I have evidence for this. I'll say this. When a baby smiles, there's all kinds of theories about what makes a baby smile. Gas, a dream in which they're getting something they like to eat or something like that. But no, by my observation, and I have observed this very closely, a baby smiles when they feel connected. It just energizes their whole heart, you know. Because think of it, a baby is born into the world, they're pushed out of the womb, and they don't know where they are, and they don't have a sense of what's what or who's who or where they, you know. But when they finally get that first intimation that they're connected to other, they smile. They smile. Because this is the deepest core reality of everyone's desires. Everything that we want is a symbol, a metaphor for love that is bestowed from a higher energy that draws us up out of the human condition and into freedom. That love is always there, always available, always the fulfillment of your every desire. It is the very nature of the cosmos, of the universe. This is the mystical truth that humankind is missing. If each and every individual could wake up to this truth, there would be no more addiction. True? Do you believe it? Yeah. There would be no more depression, despair, no more sense of being lost or purposeless. So there it is. And this brings us to the very last chapter. I am the author of my life. If you look at the program folder, that's what the picture is about. The mad writer at the desk writing with the pen. We don't write like that anymore, but just thought I'd go back to that image. Archetypal image of us creating and writing. Well, I was having a conversation with our dear Naomi, who has moved to Arizona. Remember Naomi was here for a while. She came to the Unity Church in Grand Rapids when I was there, and she came up through YOU there. Her whole family has been in Unity for years. And I told her one time, write yourself into the drama of your life as a hero. Write yourself in as a hero. I say that to all of you. Write yourself in as a hero. Is it too much to expect of ourselves? We are unconsciously writing our part in the saga of our life experience all the time. So just take a look at your role the role that you have created for yourself. Don't judge it. Don't have any reaction to it at all, except maybe humor, if you can see the humor in it. And here's what we teach in unity, and actually in all Christianity, that you are to live as the Christ. That's your role. That you are to live as the Christ, that you can express the love, the healing power, the miracle-working abundance that Jesus showed us. But only if you're aware of your choices. You see, to the degree that you wake up, that you consciously live in the awareness of your omega or Christ self, you claim that authorship of your life. You have this amazing superconscious mind connection that sources you to new life. In this life, we can call it living originally. We expand in love. In this life, we expand in joy. We expand in well-being on limitless levels. In this life, we transcend the human limitations and experience the profound oneness that is our ultimate reality. Amen. So now this time that we set aside for meditation in the silence is truly our communion in this gathering. So take some deep breaths and relax. Get comfortable in your chair and close your eyes. Breathing deeply, we breathe in the breath of God. We feel our bodies vibrating to the melody of life, harmonized, cleansed, purified, and filled with light. And as we breathe, we connect with our heart space, expanding, awakening, thrilling to that love that is universal and everywhere present, moving in and through us as love, love. Our minds are set free from the concerns of the moment. Our thoughts are unified with the oneness of God's power. And so in this state, unconditionally accepting God's love, unconditionally expressing God's love. Let us take our statement for meditation together. I feel and know the truth within me. And let's say that together now. I feel and know the truth within me. And silently say that in your heart. And now we abide in the silence, waiting upon Thee for Thy revelation, for Thy power. for thy freeing light. And we give thanks for the realization that we are ever thy beloved. Always and eternally, thy beloved. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.